Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now, Frank Warren has said there has been preliminary talks for Oleksandr Usyk versus Joyce, as the WBO want to order their interim title for that fight. Now, obviously this is in the event that Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury fight, which seems increasingly likely. Now, of course, there is that WBO situation that needed to be resolved, and Oleksandr Usyk needed to be respected in this situation because he is mandatory. He's mandatory for a reason. Those rules are there from the WBO. It's not something they've recently brought in. So those rules are there. He was mandatory before, and he did wait and fight Derek Chisora in the interim while Anthony Joshua dealt with his IBF mandatory, which was Kuprat Pulev. So considering that, he does need to be respected. Considering that, he does need his world title opportunity if he wants it next. And he does. He's made that abundantly clear that he doesn't want to step aside. He wants to fight for the world title because he's waited once. He's not going to do it again. So that is fair enough from Oleksandr Usyk. Now, of course, in the event that this happens, what that means is Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury will fight for the WBO world title in their undisputed fight, which will obviously mean it is undisputed as opposed to being a fight for the unified heavyweight titles with one belt missing. This means all of the belts can be on the line, but Joyce and Oleksandr Usyk will fight for the interim title. Then after Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury, they will vacate that belt, and the winner of Usyk versus Joyce will then become the WBO champion. So I know you could say that the winner of that fight doesn't get that moment of being crowned world champion, but they know they're going to be. That is a world title fight. It is for the interim title, yes, but still, they know they are going to be crowned world champion just a few weeks later. That is, of course, if the fight actually takes place before Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, which it seems like it will. I mean, it seems like that has been the mold since this all started, since Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury began talks. If there ever was going to be a situation where Oleksandr Usyk fought Joyce, it was always going to be before that undisputed fight. Now, I guess we could ask the question as to how come Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury have been negotiating longer, and this one has just started now? How can that be made before? Well, there's a lot less to sort out with the governing bodies, with broadcasters. It's not such a big fight. I mean, this is the biggest fight in world boxing between AJ and Fury, so it's going to take a while. There are going to be stipulations that need to be put into place by both the parties, and financials which have already been agreed, but there are just so many little stumbling blocks and little niggles that need to be sorted out. With Joyce versus Oleksandr Usyk, it's a little bit different from that. It should be a deal that can be reached quite quickly. And the fight could take place in April, May, probably not June. It will be before then because AJ will fight Fury, likely late May or early June. Meaning if they do fight in May, then it's only a couple of weeks before Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. And that is when they will be crowned WBO champion, no matter what happens in that fight. Now, Eddie Hearn has also explained that they will be ready to announce a date in early February. So only a few weeks' time will they be ready to say when this fight is going to take place. That is another big thing that they did have to sort out. The date and the venue. Financials have been agreed. That was agreed months ago. So that 50-50 split straight down the middle has been something they agreed a few months ago, which is usually the biggest stumbling block, but they got beyond that quite quickly. 60-40 in the rematch, favouring the winner. Now, of course, we don't know where this fight is going to take place just yet. Bob Arum said the location was agreed and set, then he kind of backtracked, and Eddie Hearn also said the location hasn't been agreed yet, but if they are going to announce a date in early February, I would imagine they know where the fight is going to take place. Even if they don't 100% know then, there will be a course set to who it will be. They're not going to start negotiations after announcing a date. That's not going to happen. So they already know where the fight is going to take place, whether they've 100% agreed it or whether they are ready to announce it or not. That is undergoing talks right now. That is what will be happening. So they know where the fight is going to take place. Likely Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury also do. And I think we do too. We know where the fight is going to take place, right? It's going to be Saudi. It can't be anywhere else. Can it be America? I don't think so. Can it be Singapore, Dubai? It could be, but they haven't done it there before. And what makes me think it's Saudi is because they have been there before. Saudi have already put up that kind of money for an Anthony Joshua fight before, and obviously Tyson Fury's been there with that WrestleMania thing that he done, so they have both been there before, and obviously Eddie Hearn, Matchroom, they have a good relationship with those over in Saudi. Now, of course, there are many big fights that could be on the horizon. One that we do know of is Dillian Whyte versus Alexander Povetkin 2 on March 6th. Now, he's not even rematched him just yet, because this is a rematch that holds a huge amount of significance to Dillian Whyte. But still, Eddie Hearn is talking about the next opponent of Dillian Whyte, Deontay Wilder. Now, this has been spoken about a few times, especially considering Dillian Whyte has called him out like 3 years ago and has continuously done so over the past couple of years, becoming number 1 in that position as well with the WBC, yet still not being called as mandatory. Dominic Brazil did when he was number 4, which is mildly absurd, but still, Dillian Whyte wants that fight, and now apparently Deontay Wilder also wants to fight Dillian Whyte because he needs him. He needs Dillian Whyte probably more than Dillian Whyte needs Deontay Wilder, but that's not going to stop Dillian Whyte from getting in there and fighting him. Now obviously, if Dillian Whyte beats Oleksandr Povetkin, he puts himself in a brilliant position once again, WBC Interim World Champion. Now that holds a lot of significance considering he could be next for a world title shot within that WBC title. Now, of course, Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury does tie up all of the belts this year, aside from the WBO, which obviously we have spoken about previously. So considering that, Dillian Whyte isn't going to get a world title shot this year. I think we can more or less guarantee that, and no one else will either unless they start vacating the belts after this undisputed fight due to mandatories being called, which will likely be the WBA because they are next to call their mandatory with the belts that Anthony Joshua holds anyway. The WBC were supposed to call their mandatory this year, but because Dillian Whyte lost, he kind of missed out on that opportunity. But if he is reinstated after beating Povetkin as a WBC Interim Champion, which he will be if he wins that fight, then that puts him in good stead for a world title opportunity in 2022. Does he want to take a risky fight like Deontay Wilder before that opportunity, just as he did Oleksandr Povetkin? It is of course very risky, but then again that seems to be what Dillian Whyte does. The smart option, you would say, is fight someone in the interim, fight someone who's a little bit lower level, someone you know you can beat or should be beating, then get your world title opportunity, man, because it's time that Dillian Whyte did have that opportunity finally. Look at his resume, and you cannot say he does not deserve that opportunity. If he beats Povetkin, then he's in that position again. He doesn't need to fight anyone else. He should be fighting for a world title in 2022. The risky fight with Deontay Wilder is one he does not need to take, but one he will take, and you can guarantee it. Eddie Hearn has spoken about it. Dillian Whyte himself has spoken about it, although he wants to focus on Oleksandr Povetkin. So Whyte versus Wilder is a genuine possibility later this year. And if Dillian Whyte goes Oleksandr Povetkin March 6th, then Deontay Wilder later this year, then he gets to fight Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury next. No one else, no excuses, that's who he should be fighting next. There are no reasons as to why he shouldn't, because those two fights in 2021, that's mega for Dillian Whyte. I mean, let's be real, do you see Joseph Parker? I mean, he's a great fighter, but still, do you see him? Do you see the likes of Andy Ruiz, even Deontay Wilder himself, taking those kind of challenges to get a world title opportunity? In fact, not even just to get that world title opportunity, just to make big fights for the fans, just to be in the biggest fights he can make. Now that needs to be applauded from Dillian Whyte, because he's doing it when others possibly aren't. I mean, I know the champions are, but let's put them aside for a moment. I'm talking about the other fighters outside of the champions who want their world title opportunity. Are they willing to take the same kind of risks as Dillian Whyte? Well, if they are, they need to prove it. Dillian Whyte is the one who is proving that at the moment. But guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Pick your favourite subject and leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Also leave a like and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.